So, we are going into the crime committed, how I would have done it if I was committing that crime.
And the Idaho 4 murders.
The Idaho 4 murders. And I want to give a shout out to A.R. Hayes and say a couple things here. For one, I feel super strange about doing this. I'm sure A.R. Hayes felt super strange about doing it too, because whether you're a criminal or not, I think that people who can murder other people are a different kind of breed. So, I've never been in a situation like this. And honestly, it's a little disturbing thinking about it in this manner, because I've never had to think about anything like that in this manner before. But A.R. Hayes made a video out there. Malia brought it to my attention, was like, hey, I would be super interested in hearing how you would do this crime if you were doing it, just to kind of compare and contrast. So shout out to A.R. Hayes for this idea. And for those members out there, we talked through the crime and factors and theories and possibilities and all the things that I personally would have looked at if it were done in any or all of these different types of ways. So make sure you check that video out. And then this is the final conclusion here. After I figured out, okay, goal is that essentially you're saying, hey, you're going to go in this house and it has to be these 4 people. So how would you do it from step 1 to step 100, right?
Yeah, if you're going in this house and, your targets are these 4 individuals, or maybe it's better to simplify it to the house.
That doesn't simplify it, because, again, this crime doesn't make sense. So how I would have done it is...
With these 4 people, okay.
Yep, with these 4 people.
Play-by-play
which I
scenes
think
of a movie.
Would have ended up being 5, but I'm not 100% sure. Some factors come into play with that would change that. So should I do it from the perspective that I'm Bryan, I go to a different college, or no?
No, I think you should leave out all current crime narratives.
I just live in the area, right?
Yep, and you've targeted these 4 people.
Okay, am I a college kid? So I know these people? I've seen them around? Give me a motive.
Okay, so let's say it's a revenge killing.
Okay. So revenge killing.
Something that you could actually...
They made me mad. They pissed me off. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm a sociopath. So,
because realistically, don't you think that's the only way you could ever commit a crime like this?
I could never commit a crime like this, but I can do all the things, and I have done all the things except that crime. I was just there for different reasons. You know what I mean? So, all right. So for me, it would have started at least a week ahead of time. A week is cutting it close, cutting it very, 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 very close, because I know that humans are repetitive in nature. So there are certain aspects that I would want to watch this house and or individuals and see, okay, what do they do on Mondays? What do they do on Tuesdays? What do they do on Wednesdays? What do they do on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays? Do they go to church? Do they go to a party every Saturday night? Do they party at the same place? Do they split up? Do they hang out together? All these things, right? Because my target is these 4.
Wouldn't you need more than a week?
Yes, I'm saying in a week is the shortest.
Okay.
But yes, I would need more than a week. I would probably be planning this at least a month ahead of time, because you still have life things to do, and you need to watch where you can in between your normal life things. So I would have planned everything out ahead of time, knowing that I needed to blend in the area. I probably would have brought a what Steve Gonsalves called a kill bag with me, and I would have learned their routines, and I would have figured out that the best time to do this is around between 2 and 4 a.m., and there's a couple reasons for that. Police tend to change shifts between those times. Normally it's between 4 or 5-ish, because during college towns it's pretty busy at bar closing time. I would have got a welding suit, which is like, I think, a 5-layer suit that won't let any moisture whatsoever in there. I would have, with a crime this serious, I probably would have bought women's shoes 2 sizes smaller than mine, to be ready for it and to throw police off. I would have drove to a place that did not have cameras, that was at least a 1/4 mile away from the house, which is a runnable distance if something goes wrong.
So you would have taken your own car?
There's no other option. If you steal a car, you're now committing a secondary crime that you are going to be found on cameras while driving. So I would need to drive my own car, find a place where there's no cameras at least a 1/4 mile away. Yes, I would have drove my own car.
So not public transport or anything like that?
No, not public transport. Public transport has cameras. Buses have cameras. They all have cameras. So yes, I would have drove my own car.
Would you have brought your phone with you?
I would not have brought my phone with me. No, I would not have brought my phone with me.
If it was just you alone?
No.
Okay.
I would have left my phone at home, but there's no way around the car. You're safer giving an explanation why you were there than you are taking public service, being seen with a backpack packed with stuff when you own a car. That is more weird, being seen on public transport when you own a car, than it is for driving your car and giving an explanation why you're there. Getting food, right? So I would probably know to get food or something, and then if police ask where I am, I'm parked eating it. What do you mean? I just got food, and then I would just throw that food away or something. But I would park at least a 1/4 mile away. Without a map, I wouldn't know exactly where that is, but I would make sure it doesn't have cameras, and I would make sure that it's dark. It's dark enough for me to do stuff. The Linda Lane is not a good place. I wouldn't have parked there. I would only park where it's dark and not a lot of visibility, because even if there are buildings far away from you, as long as you're in the dark and not in direct light, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No one's going to be able to see what you're doing, right? So I would have brought baby wipes with me and put hydrogen peroxide in them to wipe away any leftover blood splatter and things like that. I would bring really thick gloves, again, maybe welding gloves, because the gloves are going to get stuff on it no matter what. Welding gloves are porous, but they won't let anything through there, but they are thick gloves. And put everything in my backpack and hiked it over to the house. Once I was at the house, I would know that I need a quick exit, okay? And these 4 people are my targets, and time is the most important factor to me, and I have to worry about a couple things here, right? I would know that they have a dog. I would know that there could possibly be some other roommates, and I would need the element of surprise in at least one of the situations. So I would have a hard time making the decision on whether I would start with the bottom room where the man is, because that's the biggest problem for me, or in the top. The problem with the top room is if I need to get away very, very, very quick, there's a couple things in my way to get away. There's the back hill and fence. There's the retaining wall, which is pretty high, and there's a 2nd story jump. And when you're jumping from a 2nd story, if you don't give yourself some leeway to like drop yourself down, you could break an ankle. There's no way around that, If you just launch over that top bar. So I would try and make my exit. I would depend more on my speed and the weapon than I would about him first. So I would start at the top and then work down to my exit. So I would have found something to allow me to grab the wooden post and shimmy up to
of the balcony.
Of the balcony, because you can do that silent with a backpack on. Pulled myself over, got up there, and then I would have put my clothes on in that back corner where it's really dark, where there's all the trees back there. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay, so you would have put it on right before, so that you
I would have put it on right before. Yep. So I could talk my way out of it if somebody saw me in that neighborhood. You know what I mean? I would have took the darkest path, and it's a college town, and knowing that I would have had cover there because college kids are walking around everywhere. But I would have gone on the balcony in that dark back corner, and then put on the suit. Put on my shoes that were the wrong size, 2 sizes too small, preferably women to throw them off, and looked in the bedroom window to see what they were doing, if they were awake, if they were asleep, if they were not. You can still walk under the window without them seeing you if you got to get down on your hands and knees and crawl under it, and then enter through that top balcony door, assuming I had already entered and verified that that was unlocked. So guaranteed it would be unlocked because I had already made sure it's unlocked and nobody lived in there, right? There's nothing in there.
Besides the dog.
I would have gone in, okay, and sure, if the dog is in there, I would have handled that then. It's just so gross thinking about.
Yeah.
If the dog is not in there, I would have opened the door, knowing dogs could, cracked the door, and probably sat right by the door because dogs can smell that. They already know you're there. So the dog would have came searching. It only a matter of time. It probably would have took 3, 4, 5 minutes. No one would have known you're there. You could have sat there for 5 minutes if you needed to, waiting for the dog to come in and take care of the dog. If I'm the type of person that could do this crime, I'm the type of person that could do that. You know what I mean? And just make sure it's quiet. And then I still have the element of surprise for the top room. And I would not do one person and then the other. I would slowly creep in and make sure they're asleep, right? Ideally, hopefully they're asleep. At least one of them is asleep so that you have the element of surprise. And I would have first strike been a fatal one to one person, the furthest person from me, and then the second strike, a fatal one for the person closest to me. So then if there is any movement or so-called fighting, with the adrenaline or that last bit of life or whatever that somebody that could have, I assume, it's going to be not very strong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to keep it quiet, I probably would continue until there was no movement. I would do my best to check myself if I didn't hear anything. My first thought would be, do I hear anything, to see if anyone's been notified. So I'd probably stand by the door and check myself and see if I have any evidence that could track DNA. I would do something that would throw police off. What that is, I don't know. But every crime I've ever done, I've always left diversions, right? Whether it's shoes that are the wrong size, whether it is to make an exit look like I exited there when I didn't. in this situation, if I'm the type of person that could do a crime like this, could I set somebody else up in that way? Yeah, I guess I could. Because I wouldn't bring a sheath with me. A sheath would not come with me into that crime.
Why?
I would want a belt to hold everything tight so I have a range of movement for if anything happened where I needed my body. You know what I mean? If a fight broke out or something like that. So what I would probably do is put a belt on around the...
Just a normal belt or like a utility belt?
No, a normal belt. Just a normal, regular belt on around that to hold it tight to my body so I have good range of motion. I don't get caught on things, like it doesn't get caught on a door. The suit is tight and fitted, but still gives me all the movement I need.
So a suit with a belt over it with a knife tucked in it?
Correct. Yep. Correct. Yep. And the backpack, I would have dropped, it would be empty, right? Because I would be wearing everything. So I would have dropped that backpack down to the bottom so I could grab it on my way out. And then I would slowly move down to the second level, hoping I had the element of surprise again. That would be my number one goal. If I didn't, of course, this would go very different. But if my goal is those 4 people and I'm the type of person that would do that, Dylan would be next in this storyline. She absolutely would be next because that's the first door on my way down. And I would also think that doing that one person would be very quick. So whether you're cutting a neck, as gruesome as that is, or another fatal wound to a chest, I would probably go in there first, do that, and quickly move to the other room. Obviously not loud enough to let people hear you, but I would move to the other room and slowly try and listen again. Do I still have the element of surprise?
So
if
you would have listened on the way down there, and if she was awake, you would have killed her, or you would have checked that room and it would have happened.
I would have checked that room and it would have happened. Yeah. Yeah, because I don't want any surprises behind me.
You, yeah.
I don't want any surprises behind me. So the only option, even knowing there's a man in there, that is my biggest problem in the house. A problem that's bigger is my getaway if somebody calls the cops.
Yeah.
I want a couple options of getaway if somebody calls the cops or they happen to be there or something like that. I want a couple options. And the only way to have a couple options is the second story where I can go out the slider, I can go out the front or the top. I could go anywhere. So I know that I could take care of the top quick, right? Super quick. They are young, weak in upper body because they're women in comparison to a man. That should be the easy thing in this situation. That should be the start, right? Easy to control, easy to keep quiet. I would think easy for anything. I've never thought about ending someone, but is it possible that person had a pillow and, you know what I mean? Is it possible it was a bam?
Anything's possible.
Bam. I agree, and I don't know, but so I would have gone in Dylan's room. If there was someone in there, there wouldn't be anymore. And then hope that I still had the element of surprise for the other room. After that, the biggest problem would be the man. So the man would be the first attack in that room, and then Xanafer. You know what I mean?
And then you would exit out of the where?
Yeah,
So after Ethan and Xana's room, where would you go? What would you do?
Would I know the house was clear or not clear? Because if the house is clear and I made sure the cell phones are off, I might prioritize checking for DNA. If I thought someone was there, but my job was done, God, that's just so weird. So I would take off. That just leaves too many question marks. But I would take off the suit.
In the home?
In the home. Yeah, 100% I would. I would take off the suit in the home because under that I would also have long sleeves on. And under that I would probably tape my sleeves, which is something I have done before where I tape my sleeves so nothing can come out, anything like that, and tape your ankles and then put shoes on that don't fit. Because regardless what cops say, they cannot tell when somebody is wearing shoes that don't fit. They claim that you can tell because, like, edging patterns or something.
The toe marks and stuff.
Yeah, it's not true. You just have to curl your toes. Everybody stands different. They cannot tell with really thick-soled shoes that you're wearing shoes that are too small.
Even if they're brand new shoes, it doesn't, like, thick, hard bottom shoes that are new, yeah, I don't think they could tell.
They can't.
No.
So I would be wearing a couple sizes too small. I would check the house after every single time. I would give myself probably 10 seconds and like, you know what I mean? Like, calm down. I know adrenaline's not my friend. I know adrenaline messes up crimes and it gets people caught. So I would probably calm myself down, calm my heart rate down, and listen to see if any sound is in the house. If there's sound, you have a problem, you have to take care of that problem. If there's not, you can then move on to your next step, you know. After that, if we're done and I'm just leaving after that, if I believe there is nobody else in that house, and I know for a fact that I had the element of surprise in each 3 situations to where nobody called the cops, I would take a couple minutes and check myself. I would check my body to make sure I'm okay to leave. If I don't know, then what I would do is take off my clothes, and I still have clothes underneath it, right? And lay it on the ground, and as I'm taking it off, you step out so that your feet never touch the ground from sweat or anything like that. And then, you know, take off the mask, take everything off while standing on this pile of clothes that's underneath you. And then I would bundle all that up inside out, keeping any DNA that's on the outside out of it, and walk outside to the backpack. Once I'm outside in the ground, like on actual ground, hard ground, I would put the shoes back on and continue walking with everything in my backpack.
What if the shoes have blood on them, though? So you wouldn't
it doesn't
bring a
matter.
second pair of shoes?
I wouldn't. That's so bulky. I don't think I would take another.
There's no blood trail leading away from the home.
I know, but all you have to do is walk away from the house. That's it. You just have to walk away from the house. And you got to remember, the only blood trail on the shoes are if you step on it. If you're working backwards from the furthest to you, always stepping backwards, you're never going to step on blood. You won't ever step on blood. Just to be sure, I would take my shoes off in the house. I would probably have 2 or 3 pairs of socks on, and maybe take off one of those pairs of socks, put it all in the pile, pile everything up, wrap it up really, really, really tight, and hold it and walk out of the house with it.
Yeah, but what about once you get to the car? Like, that, you're risking any little bit of blood on your shoes, so would you have a change of shoes and clothes at your car?
Yeah, I would definitely have a change of shoes and clothes, because everything that was exposed, you got to get rid of.
Right.
From there. So once I got back to the car, I would, but I'm thinking getaway. And if I have shoes in my backpack, if I have all this junk in my backpack, I just don't think I would take an extra pair of shoes. I really don't think I would. Would I? Maybe. Maybe, but I don't think I would. Because, for one, I would care about the DNA on the backpack, because if cops got there and I needed to run, I knew I left that backpack out there. So I would be conscious of that, not to leave anything in it. That's where the shoes would have to be. That's the only option.
Yeah.
I don't want shoes in there unless they're new, that I've never touched before. Never touched before. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, assuming that all went good and everything went how it's supposed to, I would walk back. I would get outside with my bundle, put it in the backpack, and then casually walk back to the car quick, but not like sprinting away from like something's wrong. Just quick enough back to the car, and then get the baby wipes and literally wipe everything. Every single piece of my body.
So what, would you have a trash bag hidden outside of the car too?
Yeah.
To put everything into?
Mm-hmm. Multiple. Three trash bags. And I would take the whole backpack and everything, knowing I'm going to get rid of it, and put it in the backpack with the murder weapon, everything in there.
And the wipes?
Yeah, everything. Put everything in there, wipe my whole body down, put everything in that bag, literally everything, knowing, the hydrogen peroxide should deteriorate any of that. I would probably wipe everything multiple times, taking 10 minutes, you know what I mean? Because knowing everything has to be in the bag, every piece of DNA has to be in the bag, and everything. And for people that think that there are criminals out there that don't think of that stuff, that's just not true.
No.
You do.
You do.
You think of everything. Literally everything. If you're good. So. And then get in the car, drive away, have a shovel in my car, and bury that bag under a tree.
Bryan Kohberger had a shovel in his trunk.
Did he?
Yeah. He did.
I would
don't know if it was used anytime recently. I don't know if it was forensically tested or not. I did hear from multiple people that live in the area that it's typical to have shovels in your trunk in winter around there because of issues with getting your car stuck in snow and stuff. That a lot of people have shovels in their trunks. So that's not abnormal.
Interesting.
It is interesting.
Yep. But I would bury it under a tree. All of it. Everything. I would not burn it.
That's so weird. I've never heard anybody talk about burying evidence under a tree before.
Mm-hmm.
I always hear burn it.
But
you can't burn a knife, so.
You can't burn a knife. No, you can't burn a knife. I would bury it, and it deteriorates under there, and no one's going to get to it. People aren't like, hey, let's go dig a hole under a tree.
Yeah, people think bodies of water. Mm-hmm. They think burning things. They think...
Yeah, and another interesting fact is people don't look at trees and think like, oh, wait, why is that dirt like that? You know what I mean? Normally, dirt is already...
weird around a tree.
Yep. But yeah, this feels super weird. I don't know if I passed the test that I could be a sociopath or what, but...
That wasn't a test like that.
Obviously, I'm joking, I know.
I think it's interesting. I used to watch a show where he was a criminal who was like a mastermind burglar who then went on to make a security company. And he was talking about how he would break into homes to help people understand how somebody could break into your house.
Yep.
And
dude, how I would, no one would guess.
Well, see,
Nobody.
That's why he did that, because most people wouldn't guess how he would break into a home.
It would
and
not be through a door.
He created a really good security system, and I feel like that for anybody who has that experience, it's incredible knowledge to have, because your average person would not think of these things at all. They would not.
Yep. Yep.
How would you break into a house?
Take the window off. Take a window out.
How do you take a window out?
There's only 4 or 5 nails that hold a window in.
So what, you just pull them out?
Yeah.
Is it quiet?
Yeah. I mean, as quiet as pulling a nail out. Yeah. Houses aren't as secure as people think. Doors are kind of loud to go in. There's normally a window on them, blinds. They shake and move and like
squeak.
You know what I mean?
They
and
cause air pressure differences in the house too.
Yeah. With a window, you can almost all new windows. You can literally like lift a screwdriver on them and shimmy the actual whole window out without pulling the window frame off. But you can pull off any window frame really quickly.
Okay, so how do you stop someone from ever being able to do that?
Cameras.
No, there's no way to secure your window so somebody can't just shimmy it out. Like
cameras,
glue.
Dude.
Like
cameras deters
glue.
Everything. People do not want to be caught on camera. Cameras and dogs. Most burglars, I mean, when I was doing really bad stuff, I loved my dog. I would never hurt a dog. Never.
Yeah, but a killer would.
Sure, a killer would, but I think killers are few and far between. But let us know what you think, you guys.
Yes.
Let us know your thoughts. Bam.
I am frankly terrified.
The crime just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
No matter how we do it. That's why we talked about it for over an hour at first, because it just doesn't make sense. And there's no explanation why more people aren't hurt. There's no explanation why a whole room was skipped. If the entrance is the back door, there's no explanation why that wasn't the first door checked. Like, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. It does not.
Unless they started at the top and came down, and Dylan was in Bethany's room. To me, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, maybe something was going on between them and they were embarrassed. I don't know. I just know people don't like that narrative, but it's a good reason to lie, too, if you're not ready to be honest about that stuff.
I don't know, man. I don't know. There's a lot of, rumors out there about it, and I don't know what to think. I just know that thinking about how to commit a crime like that and looking at the narrative we see now, it just doesn't seem to line up very well.
Yeah.